Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Nur Izzahanis Mitika Maruzani. So I'm going to present our case study. The topic will be the Malaysian economic and the COVID-19. So I will proceed with the first question, which is the effect of the stimulation handout provided by the government during the movement control order. When the government take the decision to implement Movement Control Order or MCO, many sectors need to be shut down and stay at home. After many sectors is need to be shut down and not produce the production, so they will not receive the income. So many sectors start lay off their workers in order to bear the operation costs to maintain their business and avoid the bankruptcy. So that is why on April we can see that the employment rate was just 5.0%, but in May it increased to 5.3% unemployment rate. The sector that affect from this COVID-19 pandemic is such as entertainment sector, tourism sector, and manufacturing sector. We can see that for the entertainment sector, it been affected, such as like MBO Cinema is need to close some of their branches in order to bear the cost operation, and so do the MPH bookstore is forcing to shut down some of their branches to avoid any bankruptcy. As the many company and the sector lay off their workers, so the people will gonna lose the purchasing power. So in order to keep the purchasing power and stabilize the economy, the government is given or provide the stimulation to the people, such as moratorium and bantuan Prihatin Nasional. 6 months of moratorium and the limitation of credit card. The effect of the stimulation handout provided by the government during the movement control order is first help the people to having their purchasing power to buy their necessities for themselves and the family. The stimulation becomes source of money to their start their own business or find the way to increase their income, and the stimulation also can help they to find new job opportunities in the COVID-19 pandemic. Soon after the stimulation be given to the people, the government start open the state border, which is actually before this it was restrict to travel from state to other state unless there is permission from the authority. After the state border was open, the government start encourage the people to travel in the country, which as we know the abroad border still closed and will not be open in the nearly time to avoid any risk, as the COVID-19 is spread in the whole world. Because tourism sector is one of the sector that important because they given the revenue to the government. So the government also help the people to go travel domestically by make the tax exemption for the travel and so on. So it will encourage the people to keep traveling in order to have the cash flow to maintain the economic stability. So it was used positively, but there are some people use it negatively by using the VPN to bought something useless like drugs and so on. That's all for me. Thank you.
Hi and Assalamualaikum. My name is Nur Anisha Abdul Aziz. I will proceed with another effect, which is the stimulus packages provided by the government has helped to reduce the financial burden of micro and small and medium enterprises (SMEs), which led to job security. This is based on the statement issued by the Prime Minister of Malaysia Tan Sri Yassin during the announcement of Penjana, where the prihatin package worth RM205 billion and additional prihatin SME Plus package has successfully provided support for more than 300,000 businesses, including micro and SMEs, which also has led to saving more than 2.4 billion jobs, as well as reducing the cash flow burden of almost 11 million of people in the country. Minister of Finance, Tengku Datuk Sri Zafar, started on November 27, more than 24 billion ringgit has been provided by the government as an assistance, which has benefited more than 1.4 million micro businesses and SMEs. According to economist Emil Kamotin, SMEs are a key sector that should be given top priority during this pandemic, as SMEs have been proven to contribute more than 40% to the economy and more than two-thirds of the total employment in Malaysia. The Deputy President of the Malay Chamber of the Commerce of Malaysia, DPMM, Syahrin Hamidun, has expressed concern in which he said that nearly 70% from the 450,000 Malay entrepreneurs in the SME will not be able to sustain their business if they do not receive injections of government assistance. The Companies Commission of Malaysia (SSM) recorded more than 31,190 business entities submitting termination applications from March to October that included micro and SMEs. However, during the same period, 281,781 registrations for new business entities were recorded. The Department of Statistics also says that the Malaysia has achieved the highest unemployment rate in 27 years by 5.3% in May 2020. However, the percentage rate dropped to 4.9% in June. This is a witness that the stimulus package has had a huge impact on the entire business, especially micro and SMEs. The government has been given three-stage stimulus packages. The first package is the Prihatin Raya Economic Stimulus Package, where the government also provided an allocation to support businesses, including SMEs. Some of the incentives that show good signs is the postponement of payment of income tax installments for the SMEs for 3 months from April 1, which includes the profits or bank's incomes from interest on the loan or financing involved, with the deferment of loan repayment or financing is only taxable when the income is received after the moratorium period, as well as loan payment moratorium that has been extended to any government agencies, tekun, mara and cooperative that lend to the SMEs. However, the Prihatin packages is still unable to cover the affected businesses, where the Prime Minister receives a lot of feedbacks from the SMEs associations to review back the first package. Thus, a second stimulation package was introduced, which is additional Prihatin SME Economic Stimulus Package Prihatin SME Plus, amounted of 10 ringgit. The most profitable incentive for SMEs through this package is the provision of Prihatin special grant for each micro operator, which is 3,000 ringgit, which can benefit almost 700,000 micro SMEs nationwide with an allocation of 2.1 billion ringgit. In the government's efforts to revive the economy, the third package has been introduced, which is the Economic Recovery Plan Penjana worth 35 billion ringgit, where micro and SMEs have received high benefits. The most profitable incentive for SMEs through this package is 700 million ringgit was provided for loans to enhance technical and digital for SMEs and companies in the intermediate level. Under this same 5,087 eligible SMEs have been approved for their matching grants that worth 14.6 million ringgit to assist them on their way to business digitization. The government also introduced the My Assist SME one-stop center with an allocation of 5 million ringgit. 2 billion in SME-generated financing has received 5,301 SME applications, which had been approved with a financing value of 1.09 billion ringgit. Under this scheme, for that, the Minister of Finance believed that with the help from these three packages, the country's gross domestic product (GDP) this year will increase from 3.7 to 4.0 percentage points and further put the country in a better position for recovery economy by 2021.
My name is Nafisa Akila binti Aziz. I am from AM 2264B. Based on the data and statistics mentioned in the article, should moratorium be extended? Justify your answer. So my answer would be the Department of Statistics Malaysia stated that in Q1 2020, the gross domestic product GDP of Malaysia increased by 0.7%, while it was estimated to reach between 3.9% and 4.2%. The GDP estimates for Q2 2020 are estimated to be one of the lowest in recent memory by nearly any economist, provided that this span includes the whole movement control order as well as the conditional and recovery. The MCO, where there were hardly any economic activities. As predicted, GDP growth went negative in Q2 2020. Malaysia can only formally join the official concept of an economic recession if Q3 2020 is indeed a negative quarter of growth. As for me, for those who are affected by this pandemic, such as the groups, especially B1 from B40 group, can extend the moratorium. But the remaining groups of M40 and T20 should repay their loans moratorium back. The borrower who affected can apply for the extension of moratorium and let their banks know. As for now, I am aware that banks in Malaysia has asked their borrower whether they want to pay or they want to postpone their payment of the loans, as the majority of Malaysians and businesses are back in work. I think there is no need to the groups who are not affected to not pay the loans, as the banks should aware the income of every borrower each month who are not affected to deduct the payment of the loans from their banks. The earnings that they earn should be more than enough, and this is their responsibility to pay back their loans. However, given the government's best efforts with several economic stimulus programs, Malaysia is expected to reach the economic crisis this year. In April 2020, Bank Negara Malaysia expected Malaysia's GDP to be between 0.5% and negative 2% for the year. The Department of Statistics Malaysia predicted a decrease of negative 1.7%. The banks are providing the extended moratorium for a borrower who lost their jobs and unemployed and also who are still surviving to save a single drop of income and suffered because one of their spouses are not working and they have children to support their daily lives. As our government listens to every parties, especially our Bank Negara Malaysia and every locals bank, Datuk Seri Mustafa Mohamad stated that these things must be studied carefully because this is an important part of this country in this pandemic. This is why they lessened the deferment of moratorium repayment, as there were a request by banks. Then the government does not want to put any pressure on the bank. As we know, each bank, especially Bank Negara Malaysia, has been struggling since March 2020 when the government first announced the Movement Control Order MCO in March. After the announcement of the 6 months moratorium by our Prime Minister, the credit cards conversion to loans is estimated to be worth at least 100 billion. This was to ease every individuals and SMEs in this country. Since our MCO had burdened Malaysian economy as stated in Budget 2021, Malaysian economy have lost 2.4 billion each day because production has been stopped and Malaysia all stayed at home and not working. As banks who are providing services to people who wants to buy necessities such as house and car, if the 6 months moratorium is extended for all group, it might hit hard for banks to operate. I would say these are always based on every individual perspective. Loans are loans. They need to be paid. Just sooner or later, If individual is struggling hard during this pandemic and applying for deferment, yes, they may proceed. But there are individuals who have enough money and can pay for the loans. They also may proceed as this may ease them for the long term because they have less loans to be paid to the banks.
Hi, Assalamualaikum. I am Nur Hidayatun Aina. For me, yes, the moratorium needs to be extended. It is because there are still new people who want to start a business again and they really need a support, especially in terms of financial. As we know, SME, small and medium enterprise, are most affected by this COVID-19 pandemic outbreak. All the entrepreneurs closed their respective business due to lack of profit to continue their business. As soon as the Prime Minister announced that the entrepreneurs, the traders can continue back their business, the entrepreneurs desperately need the money to redevelop their business. B&M has generally agreed to assist entrepreneurs after September 30 and agreed that the moratorium be extended. But not for everyone will get it, and it will give a priority to entrepreneurs to ease the burden of those affected during Movement Control Order (MCO). So, with the existence of the moratorium, the burden of entrepreneurs to pay the debts is reduced. They can also refer to the bank to extend the moratorium. As an example, Agrobank is under the Ministry of Finance. That can give a moratorium, especially to farmers, because they will contribute back to the agro-food industry. In addition, the government also needs to extend the moratorium and bank assistance to SMEs, at least until the middle of next year, in order to ensure the entrepreneurs can survive in the industry. The action taken are important to help SMEs to restructure their cash flows in order to prevent them from being declared bankrupt. Therefore, they can focus on business in order to be able to repay their debts. The moratorium should be extended also because there are still people who work but their salaries are affected and make their salaries reduce. As we know, the unemployment rate during the COVID-19 pandemic increased and caused many people to lose their source of income, especially the B40 group. In addition, many companies suffer losses and cause layoffs and have to reduce employee salaries. In this case, the moratorium should be extended in order to alleviate the burden of employees with debts from banks. Most of them are B40s who already have a family or a single person who sometimes don't have enough money to cover their daily expenses. Those employees are affected by this pandemic because the companies they work for, especially private companies, have suffered losses. Apart from that, this private company also had to reduce the salaries of the employees in order to continue their activities in the company. However, the private consumption had slumped by 18.5% year-on-year as the consumers pulled back despite cash handouts. With this moratorium, affected employees can use the salary to support their family without having to pay debts with the bank. The moratorium also needs to be extended as we know that the current situation has not yet fully recovered. Financial instability is one of the reasons the moratorium needs to be extended. As we know, many people are affected with the current situation. Many people feel burdened and deadlocked in fulfilling all sorts of responsibilities, including making loan repayments to financial institutions. Even though the financial institutions feel a loss, but a moratorium is the best way to ease the burden of all those people in this country. Moreover, the implementation of this moratorium will help a lot by ensuring that the purchasing power of consumers can be continued, thus stimulating the country's income and economy. In addition, the money used following the delay of payment should be utilized as much as possible by adding savings, especially emergency savings. According to the action, the people will be more aware about their future savings. Statistics shows that Malaysians have a very high risk of facing serious personal financial problems if they do not have sufficient savings for emergency and future needs. Therefore, the moratorium should be extended until the situation returns to normal. That's all. Thank you.